Welcome to Baseball Talk on Rojas Media. Another episode. Your boy Francisco Rojas here. I have a special guest today. He's been on the show twice already. You know who he is. If you don't, David Esser, writer for Fansided, Section 215. My Phillies guy here. The Phillies have won 4 series in a row, brother. They've won 4 series in a row. They're 2 games back of the New York Mets. I know the division's been really bad, and they've really not stood up to the expectations that this was going to be like the best division in baseball this year. They've been the complete opposite. They've been the NFC East of baseball. But here we are. We're 2 games back, man. Let's talk about the Phils. We're about 11 days here from the trade deadline. What are your general thoughts on the Phils right now and how they played? And going forward, man, how are you feeling about this team right here as we sit on July 12 noon, July 20th? How are you feeling about the team?
Well, first and foremost, Francisco, thanks for having me back on the show. It's one of my favorite podcasts to jump on, one of my favorite podcasts to listen to.
Oh, you're supposed to.
But yeah, I mean, I'm feeling good about the team, and that's a nervous good, but it's a good. They've won 4 series in a row. It's the first time since 2018. They actually took 3 or 4 against the Marlins, which I never thought would happen ever. Since Didi Gregorius has come back, the offense has performed like one of the better offenses in baseball, which is what we saw last year, what we kind of expected coming into the season. Zach Wheeler, obviously very good. The rest of the rotation, mad, but it's been serviceable. But I'm feeling good. You've heard a lot of positive talk from Dave Dombrowski. You've heard a lot of positive talk from some national reporters that the team is looking to add at the deadline. I think as things stand, you're right. This has not become the best division in baseball. The Nats are horrible. The Braves are injured. They're a mess. The Mets aren't very good despite their first place standing. The division's right there in terms of where you want to be heading into the trade deadline. 2 games back, coming off a good run of form. That's about where you want to be.
Yeah, I guess this is where we want to be. I still believe, David, this is a 500 team. I think in a normal year, in a decent division, the Phils would probably be looking to sell, in my opinion. I still think their ceiling is maybe a wild card. Now, not even wild card this year because you got look out west, NL West, Dodgers, Padres, or the Giants are probably 2 of those teams are going to take the wild card because all 3 of those teams are really good. But in a normal year, this team they're probably not in it at all. But here they are, man. 2 games back. I guess let's talk about the deadline. 3 names that people have brought up. Craig Kimbrel, who's having really, you could even say a career year. He's been insane. Chris Bryant, who's had a very good year, coming off of a couple of years where he's been injured or, inconsistent at times. And, now this year he's bouncing around different positions, but it seems like it's helping him. Seems like he's having fun playing the game. But you look at Chris Bryant and another name people have brought up, Bryant Buxton. Those are the 3 names. Let's talk about these 3. Let's start with Craig Kimbrel. What are the realistic chances we can get Craig Kimbrel?
Slim to none. And I know we agree on this one because the Phillies, last time I checked, had the 23rd ranked farm system in baseball. Francisco is not very good. Craig Kimbrel, like you mentioned, is having an insane year, like potentially the best year of his career, and that's saying something. This is an 8-time All-Star, future Hall of Famer. It's one of the best closers baseball has ever seen. That's not an exaggeration. He legitimately is, and he's having the best year of his career. I know people have gone with the idea that the Cubs have to trade him this year. They don't. They could easily pick up his option for next year. They could move him in the offseason. They could move him at next year's trade deadline. I think the pressure is low. He might get dealt, but I think it would be in an overpay. And of all the teams who are in a position to overpay for a reliever, it's not the Phillies. They need a closer. They need Craig Kimbrel. It makes sense because of Dave Dombrowski, but are you really touching your top 5, top 4, potentially even your top 3 prospects to get Craig Kimbrel? That seems very unlikely to me.
I mean, is there somebody else out there? I know people have mentioned Richard Rodriguez, who's been really good this year. He's been really good past couple of years if you look at his numbers. Is there someone else that you can think of? Okay, if we if we don't get Kimbrel, which it's more likely than not, we're not going to get him. Is there somebody else out there that would make sense that maybe the Phillies don't have to give up a whole lot because they don't have a lot in the farm? Is there anyone else out there that makes sense?
Yeah, and you mentioned Richard Rodriguez, and he's probably the next best closer who's going to be available. He's somewhat in a similar position where the Pirates don't have to trade him if they don't want to. It would behoove them to move him just because of the state of their organization. They are so bad. If Rodriguez is fetching prospects right now, you just do it. The only thing that concerns me with Rodriguez is he's very much a ground ball pitcher, which is not what the Phillies kind of need at the back of their bullpen. The other guy I would keep an eye on is Ian Kennedy out with the Rangers. He former starter turned bullpen arm. He made the team as a minor league invite, and he's been one of the better closers in the American League. He would come on a proper rental deal, so he's not signed through next season. You get him for 60 games, 70 games, whatever it is. But he would be an upgrade. He might not be your closer. You might keep Ranger Suarez there, but there's arms out there, Francisco. There's always bullpen arms out there. There's always going to be a ton. There's going to be names that we don't even think of that are going to be dealt. So yeah. I know a lot of people are hyper focused on the Craig Kimbrel. I kind of agree with you that if he's not coming at a reasonable price, just give up, move to other guys, maybe add 2 bullpen arms to kind of offset not getting an elite closer, just to have some more depth there. Ranger Suarez could probably be your closer for the rest of the year. Wouldn't be the end of the world. But there's going to be names. There's plenty of names. But Craig Kimbrel, yeah, I think he's just going to be too hard to get.
I think so too, and it would be a dream to get him because he's been insane. I mean, like any arms, man, like to add to this bullpen. I'm tired of seeing De Los Santos, who is not a major league relief arm. He's not, right? Brandon Kinslow's been really bad this year, which at the time, look, I don't fault Dave Dombrowski and Sam Fuld. At the time, they got him on a minor league deal. He had a good year last year. I don't fault them for that. Yeah, it looks bad, but I don't fault them for it at the time. I mean, the bullpen's still really bad. Jose Alvarado has been inconsistent. His command is just all over the place sometimes. Hector Neris has been inconsistent. We need a couple of decent arms just to at least round out this bullpen because too much inconsistency. They're not much better than last year, right? They're really not that much better. I know they were historically bad last year, but they're still really bad this year. All right. So next name, transitioning to a position player, Chris Bryant, former MVP, former Rookie of the Year, having a good season this year. What are the chances we can get Chris Bryant?
Well, first and foremost, why are the Cubs not trying to re-sign him? Like, I've seen so many reports saying that they'd rather have Javi Baez back or Rizzo back. Like, Chris Bryant is by far the best player on that team. Like, by a landslide, he's the best player on the team. I don't get it. He's available. Obviously, the Phillies are going to be linked to him due to the Bryce Harper connection. For those who don't know, Bryce Harper, Chris Bryant, they're best of pals. They're best friends. They grew up together. Again, it kind of goes back to the conversation of, are the Phillies in a position to get someone as good as Chris Bryant? I would lean towards no, unless they're moving one of their starting pieces like an Alex Bohm type, which I would consider, but I don't think they're going to do. It seems unlikely. I think the best bet with Chris Bryant is to wait till the offseason, hope he doesn't get locked up, and then make a serious push to him, because one would have to assume the Phillies would be at the top of his destination wish list just due to the Harper connection. But in terms of right now at the trade deadline, I don't think it's realistic.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, this guy, when he was coming up through the Cubs farm, there was so much hype around him. He's still only 29. Look, like I say, he won an MVP before. He helped them. He was one of the biggest reasons they won their first World Series in 108 years. There's just no way that the Phillies have any type of, to me at least, any type of package that's going to pry away Chris Bryant from the Chicago Cubs. Now, I know that, like, normally, David, I know how us Philly fans are. We like to talk. We like to talk on social media. We like to say, oh, we could get this guy. We could get that guy. And sometimes it seems realistic. But I feel like this year it's just like, all right, we're talking about names, but we really don't believe ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it feels like with Kimbrel and Bryant. I'm like, all right, we're doing it just to talk about it, but it's really not likely. You know what I mean? Like Harper, you look at Harper a couple of years ago, Harper and Machado, it was like, no, we could seriously get them. And we did. We got Harper. So, this year, I just don't, those two names, in my opinion, there's just no way we're not getting either of those, but anything can happen. So, last name I wanted to mention, Byron Buxton. Byron Buxton, when healthy, my man, and you know this, can be a superstar. I mean, going back to April this year, he was insane. He was hitting like 426 and just insane numbers he was putting up, defensively and offensively. I would love to have this guy. I mean, literally, since he's been in the league, he hasn't been able to stay healthy. Would you personally, David, if you were Dave Dombrowski, are you trying to go get Byron Buxton?
Yes, I am. And I think this is where things start to get a little more realistic because Kimbrel, Chris Bryant, they're in their primes. They're at their peak. They're two of the best players in baseball at the moment. It's hard to get those types of players, even if they're available in the trade block. Byron Buxton is injured. His hand is broken. He's been injured a lot, and he doesn't want to stay with the Twins. He doesn't want to re-sign. They've offered him contracts. He hasn't accepted them. That's a player that's Dave Dombrowski. That's Dave Dombrowski material right there. That is the type of guy that you buy low on and hope that if he gets healthy, you're now looking at a core that has Bryce Harper, Byron Buxton, JT Realmuto as the centerpiece of your offense. That's pretty good. It's one of the better trios in baseball. That interests me. Obviously, he's not healthy right now. I don't know when he's going to be healthy. He didn't get surgery. The last time I looked, they were thinking late August, which isn't ideal. But if you can buy low on him, if you can keep Bryson Stott and McAble in the farm system and still get Byron Buxton, I'd be feeling really good about 2022, given that he's healthy, which again, big question mark. But when you're the Phillies and you have a bad farm system, sometimes you have to gamble on these players. And if it works, Dombrowski's a hero. Thus far, Dombrowski has almost exclusively pulled the right strings when it comes to big time trades like this. It's what he's known for. So if Dombrowski wants to get Buxton, I'm co-signing that. I think it really does make sense.
Yeah, because Buxton, if healthy, and if say the Phillies were to trade for him, if healthy and he plays like we know he could play, that's your franchise player. Bryce Harper is not your franchise player anymore. It's Byron Buxton. What he can do on both sides is insane. You don't agree with me?
He's not better than Bryce Harper. Come back.
Health, yes, he is. I disagree. Yes, he is. Now, dude, both sides. Well, I wish I had the numbers right in front of me, but defensive runs saved plus what he was doing at the plate. Oh, it's better than Bryce Harper. Are you?
We'll talk about this another day.
Tell you you got him. No, I'm just kidding. But all right, so like to end that out right there. What's your general feeling right now on what Dombrowski's going to do? Is he going to get one of those three names? If not, is there anybody else out there that they realistically are going to get? What's your gut right now?
Yeah, and I think you kind of have to preface this whole conversation that the Phillies actually do have two top 100 prospects in baseball. Bryson Stott was just elevated to that 100th spot, and McAble, I believe, is 56th. They have two really, really attractive prospects. Abel and Stott are two of the best prospects in the game. So you could, in theory, get Chris Bryant right now. If you offer McAble, bang, Chris Bryant on the team. You could go get Craig Kimbrel. You offer Bryson Stott, bang, he's on the team. The thing is, I don't think the Phillies are going to do that because they have no young talent. Are you really going to give away two of your most exciting young players? So I want to preface that they do have two guys who are attractive pieces. But if they're not going to deal those two players, which I don't think they are, you start looking at the other guys, that's when the farm system gets really barren. So then I think you have to pivot away from the Chris Bryants, the Trevor Stories, the Craig Kimbrels of the world, potentially Byron Buxton, although I think they might be able to get him without giving up Stott or Abel. You start looking at a guy like a Richard Rodriguez. You start looking at a guy like Starling Marte, who was recently name dropped by, I believe, John Heyman. It might have been Nightingale. He was name dropped as a guy that the Phillies are interested in. So I think you start looking at adding a center fielder, whether it's Marte, whether it's someone else. You start looking at adding some sort of high leverage bullpen arm, whether it's Richard Rodriguez or Ian Kennedy or someone else. Again, names are going to become available. And then maybe you sign a Cole Hamels to fill out your rotation. Like maybe I think that would be enough to at least keep you, within striking distance of the Mets for the rest of the season. They're 100% going to buy. They're definitely going to buy unless they absolutely collapse over the next 9 days. But I think it's going to be more of a soft buy as opposed to selling the farm for Chris Bryant.
Yeah, and you mentioned Cole Hamels. I think according to that Buster Olney report, I forget who exactly reported it, but I guess he looked okay, right? He was touching 90 on the fastball. What they were saying. Um, I mean, why not with Cole Hamels, right? To me, it's like if he has anything left in the tank. I know people have been saying this, but I think the fan base generally agrees. You know, if he has anything left in the tank, why not? The rest of the rotation is really the back end, especially back end, and Nolan and Eflin haven't been good either. But the back end hasn't been good. Why not add Hamels to this bad rotation, right?
Yeah, I literally, why not? If I wasn't there at the workout, granted, it was close to where I live. It was like 4 hours away.
Why
Thought
weren't you
about
there?
sneaking in for real. But no, look, if scouts are saying he's going to be ready by August, I see no reason not to bring him in. I think, as we're kind of alluding to, the back end of the Phillies rotation might be their weakest point of the roster, even worse than the bullpen. Bullpen's bad, back rotation's real bad. Matt Moore and Vince Velasquez, you can't have either of them pitch in the playoffs if you get there. They have to improve that. I don't know how they're going to do that at the trade deadline. They don't have the pieces to move. They don't have enough cap space. Like, they have so many other holes to fill. I think they're not going to be able to trade for a starter. So you kind of have to sign Cole Hamels. You have to add somebody. You have to call somebody up. So if Cole Hamels, if he can give you 4 innings of start, that's what Matt Moore's giving you. If he can give you 5 innings of start, you've upgraded your rotation. I don't care if he's giving up 2 to 3 runs. I don't care if he's taken 90 pitches to get through 5 innings. That's an upgrade. Matt Moore and Vince Velasquez have been atrocious this year. So if you can just get the full, I mean,
that's true.
not recently.
I'm saying
he had a month stretch. After that, he's been horrific.
Better than he ever was.
Yeah, well, that's not saying much. Anyways, if you can get Matt Moore out of the rotation, if you can get Vince out of the rotation, even if it's for the ghost of Cole Hamels, yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't take that chance.
I agree. Two other names that we didn't mention around the deadline. You gave me these names last time you were on here. Kyle Gibson, who has been pretty electric in the first half, made the All-Star team. And another name you mentioned, Kenta Maeda, from Bryant Buxton's Minnesota Twins. Those were the way too early trade targets we talked about. Any realistic chances they could get them at all?
Kyle Gibson for the Rangers, his price is gone up too much. He's gotten even better since the last time we talked. He's going to get some Cy Young votes. He's just been unbelievable. So I don't think he's within striking distance anymore for the Phillies. He still has a year left of team control. So that is a really valuable starting pitcher. I would cross him off. I haven't even heard anything connecting the Phillies to him. Forget about Gibson. Kenta Maeda, he definitely still interests me, especially if the Phillies are talking with the Twins already about Buxton. You could see Kenta's name thrown out there. He's not having a great year, but again, he's one of those players you could buy low on and hope he gives you a second half surge, which I think he's capable of doing. We've seen him pitch at an extremely high level in the past. So I'm still interested. I personally haven't heard anything connecting the Phillies to any sort of starting pitching at this year's trade deadline. But yeah, Maeda, I'm still kind of putting in the back burner.
Okay. I see that. So this division right now, right? The Mets haven't been good lately. I believe they lost that series to the Pirates. They almost got swept. If it wasn't for a late comeback. The Phillies sit here 2 games back. I believe the Nationals. I said Juan Soto is going to have a monster second half, and he could get some MVP talk in there. You never know with the Nationals. You never know. The Braves. I mean, I don't know how I feel about the Braves. Just because the Acuna injury, but you never know, I guess. But I think that kind of depleted them. What's your feeling on the division? Could this be a year where 2006, the St. Louis Cardinals went 83-79 and won the World Series? Do you see that happening for the Phillies?
I don't know about World Series. I think they could definitely win the division at like 84, 85 wins. The division's bad, and a lot of it's just due to injury. You start with the Braves. I think both of us were in agreement that the Braves were probably going to win the division this year, and then they lost Fried, they lost Soroka, Ozuna might be in prison for all I know. I don't know what's going on with him. Acuna done for the year. Like, they're a disaster. Charlie Morton, Drew Smiley, not good signings. So I'm pretty much ruling them out of the race. The Nationals do this weird thing where they keep hanging around. Francisco, they have to sell at the deadline or they're going to seriously screw up their future. Their farm system's bad. They have no young talent coming up through the system. Scherzer's about to leave. Like, it's just Soto in a dream. Like, Schwarber, get out of here with that. John Lester, get out of here with that. Ridiculous. So it would make much more sense for them to sell at the deadline. I don't think they're going to because they're stubborn. So I think really you then just start looking at the Phillies and the Mets, and then it's a matter of kind of, who can just BS their way to more wins. The Mets keep dealing with injuries to Jacob deGrom. As great as he's been, it doesn't seem like he's going to piece together a full season at all. Francisco Lindor is on the IL at the moment, and the Phillies are hot. So it's just going to come down to both teams are going to add at the deadline. I think the Mets will probably add more talent just from a pedigree standpoint because they're not afraid to spend stupid amounts of money. But I think the Phillies might actually have the more complete roster at the moment, and then it's just going to come down to some crucial series late in the year, and then whoever finishes 83, 84 wins, that's probably going to be enough.
Yeah. Well, so what's the number one thing the Phillies have to do right now going forward? Say they don't even make any moves at the deadline. Say I think they probably will, but going forward, what's the number one thing the Phillies are going to have to do to hang around and possibly win the division? What is the number one thing that has to happen?
Can I give you two?
You can go ahead.
Okay, they got to stay healthy. They can't battle any more injuries. Harper's already missed a lot of time. JT's missed a lot of time. They can't stomach any more injuries. This lineup is too top heavy. The rotation's too top heavy. They can't get hurt. But almost more importantly, Aaron Nola's got to figure it out, and that's probably even more important. If he pitches like Aaron Nola in the second half, they'll be fine. They'll be cruising. They'll win a lot of baseball games. It'll all be okay. But he has to figure it out. If he keeps pitching like this, team's going nowhere. This team won't make the playoffs. If they make the playoffs, they're going to be a first-round exit. They need Aaron Nola to get back to that mid to low 3 ERA range. Zach Wheeler keeps pitching the way he's been pitching. Then you're back to having two of the best pitchers in the National League at the top of your rotation. Everyone's feeling good about that. But Aaron Nola has to figure it out moving forward.
Yeah. All right. So stay healthy. Nola's got to be Nola. I agree with those. Like Eflin's got to be good too. I've said before, Eflin, you can agree with this. Eflin has to be an X factor, and he hasn't shown that. Fans say, "Oh, he was good number 3, Cy Eflin." No. So yeah, like we generally do. I think we've agreed on most. We got the Yankees coming up next. We have an easy schedule, right? So we're gonna see what happens. All right, David. I know you're on vacation. I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you, dip your feet in the ocean, do what you got to do. Let us know where they can find you on social media. I know you're always putting in the work. You're always churning out articles. Let them know where they can find your work. Let them know where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, most active on Twitter, as always. It's going to be at David Esser _ if you want to toss me a follow or check out any of my tweets over there. And then if you head over to section215.com, you'll catch a good amount of my articles on the Phillies, the Eagles, and the Sixers over there. And then me and my boy Kevin Dixon, we run a Phillies podcast of our own, Bullpen Blues podcast. You can find that on Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever. That's also linked to my Twitter profile as well. Those are the main spots.
So you guys name that podcast just because this bullpen's been so bad?
Yeah, Kevin came up with the name last year. So after we're like in the midst of the 2020 season, and that was how that originated, because the bullpen was historically bad.
Yeah, they were blue. So like, what happens if they become a good bullpen? What are you guys gonna do?
I mean, that's a big what if. That is a huge what if.
I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. If you guys need names and stuff for the future, hire me, man. I'll come. I'll shape it up. I got you.
All right. I'll put that in my notes. If the bullpen becomes historically good one day, we might have to rebrand.
All right. I'm down. All right, David. Thanks for coming on, brother. Appreciate you as always.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I do appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone, for watching. Until next time.